Fame promises perfection, eternal youth, and faces that never fade. For years, these stars were admired as symbols of beauty, confidence, and control. But behind the red carpets and flawless magazine covers lies a far more unsettling truth. In the shadows of success, desperation quietly took over. Procedures meant to preserve youth became obsessions. Enhancements turned into irreversible mistakes. And what began as small changes slowly erased the very faces fans once loved. Some of the transformations in this list were hidden for years. Others shocked the world overnight. A few were so extreme that even insiders refused to speak openly about them. Tonight, we investigate 10 celebrities whose pursuit of perfection crossed a dangerous line. And as this countdown unfolds, you will see how fame, fear, and plastic surgery collided with consequences no one could undo. Let's begin with number 1. To the fashion world, Donatella Versace was once the embodiment of sharp elegance and unapologetic glamour. Her striking bone structure, platinum hair, and fearless attitude made her instantly recognizable. She did not need softness to be beautiful. Her power came from confidence and control. But over time, control began to slip. As the pressure of age intensified in an industry obsessed with youth, subtle cosmetic procedures quietly entered her life. At first, the changes were barely noticeable. A tightened jawline, smoother skin, slight adjustments meant to preserve her signature look, but the line between enhancement and excess blurred faster than anyone expected. Facelifts were followed by more facelifts. Botox froze expressions that once communicated authority. Fillers stretched and reshaped her face, erasing the sharp, natural contrast that had defined her beauty. Each procedure seemed designed to correct the last, yet only pushed her further away from herself. Those close to the fashion industry whispered that stopping was no longer an option. Her face had become structurally dependent on constant intervention. Without it, collapse was inevitable. What began as a choice slowly turned into maintenance. Aging was no longer being delayed, it was being fought aggressively, at any cost. Public appearances sparked shock rather than admiration. Her face appeared tight, immobile, almost sculpted beyond human softness. The woman who once dictated beauty standards now stood as a visual contradiction of them. The tragedy is not that Donatella aged, but that aging was treated as failure. Her transformation became a cautionary symbol within the cosmetic world, proof that even wealth, access, and elite surgeons cannot guarantee restraint. In chasing perfection, she became trapped inside it. And while her transformation unfolded in plain sight, the next story shows how one sudden cosmetic decision can shock the world overnight. To the outside world, she was once the definition of privilege and glamour, a wealthy New York socialite, moving effortlessly through elite circles, photographed at exclusive galas, admired for her striking features and extravagant lifestyle. In her prime, she represented control over money, beauty, and power. But behind the polished image, fear quietly took root. As years passed, aging became her greatest enemy. Sources close to her later revealed a deep obsession with preserving youth at any cost. What began as subtle cosmetic adjustments soon escalated into something far more dangerous. Facelifts turned into repeated revisions. Fillers led to structural changes. Eye surgeries altered her expression entirely. Each procedure promised correction yet delivered only further distortion. Doctors reportedly warned her to stop. Some refused to operate. But by then, the pursuit of perfection had become an addiction. She was no longer chasing beauty, she was chasing control over time itself. The most disturbing part was not how she looked, but how normalized it became. Each new appearance shocked the public, yet the surgeries continued. Her face gradually transformed into something unrecognizable, tight, exaggerated, frozen in an expression that never softened. The woman once admired for elegance became a cautionary figure, silently illustrating what happens when cosmetic intervention crosses a psychological line. By the time the world fully understood the extent of the damage, reversal was impossible. The procedures had altered not just her appearance, but her identity. Her story stopped being about fashion or wealth and became a warning whispered within the cosmetic surgery industry itself. In the end, she was remembered not for who she once was, but for what happens when fear of aging overrides reason. And while her transformation unfolded over decades, the next story proves that sometimes a few bad decisions are all it takes to lose everything. For years, she was the face of effortless charm. Meg Ryan's warm smile, expressive eyes, and natural softness made her one of the most recognizable stars of romantic cinema. Audiences trusted her face because it felt real, imperfect, human, and emotionally open. Then, suddenly, that familiarity disappeared. When she reappeared in public after a period away from the spotlight, fans were stunned. Her face looked tighter, fuller, unfamiliar. The expressions that once carried warmth now appeared restrained, almost frozen. It wasn't aging that shocked people, it was the loss of identity. Insiders suggested that cosmetic procedures were meant to be subtle corrections. But somewhere along the way, restraint failed. Fillers altered facial balance. Surgical tightening changed the natural movement of her features. Each intervention may have seemed minor in isolation, yet together they reshaped the face audiences had known for decades. What made the situation more unsettling was the timing. In an industry that thrives on emotional connection, Meg Ryan's appeal had always relied on relatability. Once that connection fractured, Hollywood's response was swift and unforgiving. Leading roles slowed. Public curiosity replaced admiration. There was no scandal, no dramatic confession, just quiet withdrawal. Observers noted how her face became the focus of conversation rather than her performances. The narrative shifted from talent to speculation. A career built on emotional transparency found itself overshadowed by cosmetic silence. Her transformation exposed a harsh reality of fame. When a star's face becomes a brand, altering it carries professional risk. What is marketed as refreshing can easily become erasure. And unlike age, surgery offers no gradual adjustment, only sudden shock. Meg Ryan did not lose relevance because she aged. She lost it because the face audiences trusted was gone. In trying to preserve youth, something far more valuable slipped away. What happened next reveals how cosmetic intervention can spiral far beyond anyone's control. For decades, Priscilla Presley represented timeless elegance. Her porcelain skin, delicate features, and composed presence made her an enduring symbol of classic beauty. As the woman forever linked to Elvis Presley's legacy, her image carried history, grace, and restraint. That image did not fade naturally. It was disrupted. In the pursuit of maintaining youth, Priscilla turned to cosmetic procedures believed to be safe and routine. According to her own later accounts, one particular injectable treatment was presented as harmless, a simple enhancement. What followed was catastrophic. The substance was not approved. The damage was immediate and irreversible. Her face began to change in ways no traditional surgery could correct. Lumps formed beneath the skin. Facial balance collapsed. Treatments meant to fix the problem only compounded it. What was once softness became tightness. What was once symmetry turned uneven. The transformation shocked fans who had watched her age gracefully for years. Unlike many celebrities, Priscilla did not remain silent. She publicly acknowledged that she had trusted the wrong practitioner. She admitted regret. Yet honesty did not undo the consequences. Corrective surgeries stretched across years, each attempting to restore what had been lost, none fully succeeding. The tragedy lies not only in the outcome, but in the false sense of security. Her case exposed a dangerous truth within the cosmetic industry. Risk does not always come from extreme procedures. Sometimes it arrives disguised as simplicity. Public perception shifted. Conversations no longer centered on legacy or poise, but on appearance and speculation. The woman once admired for timeless beauty became an unintentional cautionary example, frequently cited in discussions about cosmetic danger. Priscilla Presley's story stands as a stark warning. Even informed, powerful figures can be misled. One decision, one injection, a lifetime of consequences. This case shows how quickly trust can turn into damage. The next transformation reveals what happens when repeated procedures slowly erase a familiar face piece by piece. Pete Burns was never ordinary. In the 1,980 seconds, his androgynous beauty, sharp cheekbones, and fearless style made him stand out instantly. As the frontman of Dead or Alive, he didn't just follow trends, he challenged the idea of gender, beauty, and identity itself. His face became part of his art. Over time, reinvention turned into fixation. Cosmetic procedures began as a way to refine his image, a sharper look, fuller lips, more dramatic features, but the changes never stopped. Surgery followed surgery. Fillers replaced bone structure. Implants distorted natural proportions. Each procedure aimed to perfect the last mistake, yet the damage only grew worse. Medical complications soon emerged. Infections, swelling, and nerve damage altered his face permanently. At times, his features appeared painfully stretched, uneven, and unstable. Doctors reportedly warned him to stop. Some refused to continue treatment. By then, intervention was no longer cosmetic, it was crisis management. The public watched in disbelief as his appearance changed dramatically from one year to the next. Headlines focused less on music and more on shock. Sympathy mixed with discomfort. The line between personal expression and physical harm blurred completely. Behind the scenes, those close to him described emotional turmoil and deep insecurity. The pressure to remain visually extreme, to stay relevant through appearance alone, became relentless. Surgery was no longer about beauty or identity, it became dependency. Pete Burns passed away in 2016 at the age of 57. While his official cause of death was cardiac arrest, his legacy remains inseparable from the physical toll of decades of extreme cosmetic intervention. His face, once a symbol of fearless individuality, became a haunting reminder of what happens when transformation consumes the self. His story is not about vanity, it is about losing control. This transformation unfolded in public, year after year. The next story reveals how repeated cosmetic tweaks can quietly dismantle a career without warning. In the 1,990 seconds, Tori Spelling was the definition of youthful familiarity. Her wide eyes, soft features, and approachable appearance made her the perfect girl next door on television. She looked relatable, unthreatening, and unmistakably human, a quality that helped audiences connect with her instantly. That connection did not survive transformation. Under constant scrutiny in Hollywood, cosmetic procedures entered her life early. Rhinoplasty reshaped her nose. Fillers altered facial balance. Surgical tweaks accumulated quietly, one after another. None of the changes seemed dramatic alone, but together they erased the natural softness that once defined her image. Over time, her face began to look sharper, tighter, and increasingly artificial. Expressions that once conveyed vulnerability became restrained. Familiar features blurred into a constructed version of beauty that felt disconnected from her personality. Industry insiders noted a shift. Casting slowed. Roles that relied on relatability became harder to secure. The audience no longer recognized the girl they had grown up with. Instead, public focus drifted toward speculation and comparison, not performance. What made her case especially unsettling was how normalized it became. Cosmetic alteration was framed as maintenance rather than risk. Each procedure was marketed as improvement, yet the cumulative effect told a different story. By the time reversal was considered, structural change had already occurred. Tori Spelling's transformation highlights a silent danger in celebrity culture. When alteration begins too early, identity has no time to settle. The face matures unnaturally, chasing trends instead of aging naturally. What is lost is not youth, but authenticity. Her story does not involve scandal or extreme obsession. It reflects something more common: gradual erosion. A reminder that in Hollywood, even small changes can permanently reshape how a person is seen, remembered, and valued. This case shows how subtle decisions can accumulate into lasting damage. The next transformation exposes what happens when cosmetic ambition collides with public scrutiny on a global scale. At her peak, Lil' Kim was a force of confidence. In the late 1,990 seconds and early 2000s, she projected bold femininity, sharp features, and an unapologetic presence that reshaped hip-hop's visual culture. Her look was distinctive, powerful, and instantly recognizable. She did not blend in. She dominated. That identity did not survive transformation. Over time, her appearance began to change in ways that confused even longtime fans. Her skin tone appeared lighter, her nose narrower, her lips fuller. Facial structure shifted dramatically. Each public appearance sparked renewed shock, not because of age, but because the face seemed unfamiliar. Speculation exploded, but the deeper story was more unsettling. Lil' Kim later spoke about deep insecurities rooted in early career pressures and emotional trauma. Beauty standards imposed by the industry, combined with relentless comparison, slowly dismantled self-perception. Cosmetic procedures became a way to cope, to regain control. to feel accepted. The surgeries did not stop. Fillers altered balance. Revisions attempted to correct earlier work. The face gradually lost cohesion. Expressions appeared strained, almost fragile. What was once a symbol of self-assured rebellion became a canvas shaped by external expectations. Public reaction was brutal. Memes replaced respect. Headlines focused on appearance rather than artistry. The conversation shifted away from influence and talent toward disbelief and judgment. In a culture that punishes vulnerability, her transformation became spectacle. What makes this story especially tragic is the contrast. Lil' Kim never needed to change to be iconic. Her original look had already broken barriers. Yet the pressure to conform to shifting beauty ideals proved stronger than legacy. Her transformation stands as a stark warning about the psychological cost of fame. When identity is repeatedly questioned, surgery can feel like survival. The result, however, may be the loss of recognition not just by the public, but by oneself. This transformation reveals the damage caused by internalized pressure. The next case shows how cosmetic mistakes can quietly dismantle a career built on carefree appeal. At the height of her fame, Tara Reid embodied early 2000s Hollywood ease. With a carefree smile and sun-kissed look, she represented youthful confidence and effortless appeal. Audiences associated her face with fun, familiarity, and a sense that nothing was forced. That image fractured almost overnight. What began as routine cosmetic work quickly spiraled into a cautionary tale. A combination of breast augmentation and body contouring went wrong, producing visible asymmetry and complications that could not be hidden. Subsequent corrective procedures only magnified the damage. The result was not refinement, but instability physically and publicly. Her face soon reflected the toll. Fillers altered natural proportions. Surgical tightening changed expression. Paparazzi images fueled relentless scrutiny, freezing her at unflattering angles that defined the narrative. The industry noticed. Casting conversations cooled. The carefree persona she once projected became overshadowed by concern and speculation. What made her case especially cruel was the speed. There was no gradual adjustment for audiences. One year she was a Hollywood staple. The next, her appearance dominated headlines. In an environment that rewards consistency, sudden change became liability. Those close to her later described the emotional impact as devastating. Attempts to reclaim control through further procedures only deepened the cycle. Each fix created new problems. The body became a site of constant intervention rather than expression. Tara Reid's story exposes a harsh reality about cosmetic culture. When early success is tied to appearance, a single mistake can rewrite a career. Procedures marketed as minor can cascade into permanent consequences, especially under relentless public gaze. Her transformation was not about chasing perfection. It was about trust placed in a system that offered solutions without safeguards. What followed was a long struggle to escape an image shaped by surgical error rather than talent. Her story highlights how fragile fame becomes when appearance takes control. What follows reveals the long-term cost of relying on cosmetic fixes. At her peak, Melanie Griffith radiated natural allure. Her soft features, expressive eyes, and effortless sensuality made her one of Hollywood's most recognizable leading ladies. She didn't project perfection. She projected warmth, a quality audiences trusted and remembered. That familiarity faded quietly. Cosmetic procedures entered her life gradually, framed as maintenance rather than risk. Early tweaks appeared subtle. Skin smoothing, minor lifts, carefully placed fillers. Each change seemed small, even reasonable. Over time, however, revisions began to stack on top of revisions, altering facial balance and movement. The transformation was not sudden, but cumulative. Cheeks appeared overfilled, the mouth tightened, expressions lost fluidity. What once felt open and human began to look restrained. Fans struggled to pinpoint when the shift occurred, only noticing that something essential was gone. Public discussion followed a familiar pattern. Appearances drew more attention to her face than her work. Speculation replaced admiration. Casting interest cooled. In an industry that thrives on emotional access, diminished expressiveness became a professional obstacle. Melanie later acknowledged regret, even openly warning against excessive cosmetic intervention. Her honesty underscored a painful truth. Recognizing the problem often comes after structural change has already set in. Correction becomes limited. Restoration becomes impossible. What makes her case especially revealing is its normalcy. There was no extreme obsession, no single disastrous procedure. The damage emerged through repetition, a reminder that restraint matters more than intention. Cosmetic culture often presents aging as failure, pushing incremental fixes until identity erodes. Her story illustrates a subtle but powerful danger. When procedures aim to preserve relevance, they can quietly dismantle it instead. The face that once carried emotion becomes the very thing audiences can no longer read. Melanie Griffith's transformation stands as a warning about accumulation. Not all mistakes announce themselves loudly. Some arrive gently, one adjustment at a time, until recognition itself disappears. This case shows how repetition can do as much harm as excess. The final story reveals what happens when cosmetic enhancement crosses the line into permanence. For years, Lisa Rinna was known for confidence and presence. Her expressive face, sharp delivery, and unapologetic personality made her a familiar figure on television. She didn't fade into the background. She commanded attention through movement, expression, and attitude. That expressiveness slowly disappeared. Cosmetic enhancement became part of her public image early, especially her lips. What began as a defining feature gradually crossed into excess. Fillers accumulated, facial balance shifted. The mouth became the focal point rather than the message. Over time, expressions appeared heavier, less flexible, and increasingly artificial. Unlike many others, Rinna eventually acknowledged regret. She openly admitted that her lips had been overfilled and that reversing the damage was far more difficult than expected. The honesty was rare and revealing. It exposed a critical truth. Some cosmetic decisions do not fade with time. They settle into permanence. Public reaction was relentless. Her appearance became a recurring topic of commentary, jokes, and criticism. Conversations about performance or personality were eclipsed by focus on facial changes. The image locked into place, regardless of effort to move beyond it. What makes her case significant is visibility. Repetition on screen amplified every alteration. Overfilling did not merely change how she looked, it changed how she was perceived. Confidence began to read as exaggeration. Boldness turned into caricature. Rinna's transformation illustrates a subtle danger within cosmetic culture. When enhancement becomes identity, stepping back is no longer simple. The face adapts to intervention, muscles adjust, skin stretches. The original baseline is lost. Her story is not about secrecy or denial. It is about consequence. Cosmetic choices, once normalized, can quietly reshape a public image into something fixed and difficult to escape. Her transformation stands as a reminder that once cosmetic enhancement becomes permanent, there is no clean way back, only acceptance of what remains. When the cameras stop rolling and the attention fades, what remains is not fame, but consequence. Across these 10 stories, the pattern is unmistakable. Cosmetic surgery did not fail because of vanity alone. It failed because fear, pressure, and repetition replaced restraint. Some changes began as small corrections. Others were framed as maintenance. Yet, over time, identity gave way to intervention. Faces once recognized instantly became unfamiliar. Careers built on connection struggled under the weight of alteration. These stories are not meant to mock or judge. They serve as warnings. In an industry that treats aging as weakness, the promise of control can become a trap with permanent outcomes. Now the question turns to you. Which transformation shocked you the most? Who deserves a deeper investigation in a future episode? If you want more documentary-style breakdowns exposing the hidden cost of fame, subscribe to the channel. The stories Hollywood avoids are often the ones worth telling.